Hey everyone, welcome back for another deep dive. Today we're taking inspiration from a YouTuber, One Creo.
Oh, yeah, I've seen his stuff. Really makes you think.
Yeah, his channel's all about analysis and critical thinking, that kind of thing. And he got us thinking about, well, the Nazi salute.
Hmm. Yeah, it's been in the news a lot lately.
Yeah, and not just like, the history of it, which is obviously awful, but like how it's being used today,
Mm.
especially by, well, powerful people.
It's pretty disturbing, honestly.
Like it's one thing when, some random person does it,
Yeah.
but when it's like Elon Musk,
Yeah. That video of him at Trump's inauguration in 2017
like, come on, man.
definitely raises some eyebrows. And it's not just him, right? See, Bannon and others have been seen doing it too, like at that conservative summit.
Ugh, like a bad echo of history,
Totally. And the fact that people like Benjamin Netanyahu are defending Musk.
Yeah, dismissing any criticism of it. And then there's that Spanish TV guy, Iker Jimenez.
I saw that doing salute on a YouTube live stream.
Wild, right? So we got to talk about this. Like, what does it even mean when these powerful figures do this today?
Well, I think it's a lot more complicated than just saying they're all like full-blown Nazis.
Right, right. But it's still, like, super messed up.
Yeah.
So maybe we should start with, like, the basics,
Yeah,
the historical context.
definitely. I mean, the Nazi salute is linked to, well, the worst of humanity. Fascism, the Holocaust, genocide. I mean, that's why it's universally condemned.
Exactly. It's not just some random hand gesture. It represents something truly horrific.
Right. So when it pops up today, it makes you wonder, are we seeing an actual resurgence in these ideologies? Or is it something else?
Yeah, that's the big question, isn't it? Like, how are we supposed to interpret this in today's world?
I mean, some people say it's a clear endorsement of Nazi ideology, no question.
Yeah. But then others are like, oh, it's just provocation or a way to be edgy, stick it to the man, whatever.
And even like a way to signal you're against, political correctness.
Which, I mean, come on. There are better ways to do that.
For sure. But one of the most disturbing interpretations I've heard is that it's like normalizing fascism.
It's scary to think about.
Yeah. Almost like it's becoming fashionable.
I've also heard people say it's about power.
Yeah.
Like they're trying to, like, provoke and cause controversy on purpose.
Oh, yeah. Pushing boundaries, testing the limits of free speech and what they can get away with.
And often without any real consequences,
Yeah.
especially for people like Elon Musk.
Right. He's got a huge platform, tons of money. He can basically do whatever he wants.
And it feels like he kind of enjoys, like, being the contrarian,
Definitely. And then
Yeah.
you have people like Netanyahu defending him. It's almost like they're trying to protect him.
Yeah, downplaying how serious it is.
Yeah.
Which reminds us that power dynamics play a huge role here.
Totally. Like who's doing it, what their motivations are, who's protecting them. It all matters.
It's not just about the symbol itself, it's about the whole context.
Exactly. And that context includes like how the media covers this stuff. Like remember when Jordan Bardella, that French politician, withdrew from that summit?
Oh, yeah. He was like, nope, I'm out. This is not okay.
Right. And he's from a right-wing party too. So even within those groups, there are different views on this.
But then you have Santiago Abascal from that Spanish right-wing party, Vox. He stayed at the summit.
Interesting, huh? Makes you think about what their priorities are.
For sure. Are they just less worried about how it looks? Or are they trying to appeal to a certain kind of voter?
It's definitely complicated. I mean, are we seeing a real shift towards accepting extremist views? Or is this just like a symptom of something bigger, a changing world? It really makes you wonder, like, is this just a blip? Or is it a sign of something, I don't know, more fundamental changing?
Yeah, are we, like, backsliding as a society? Okay, so we've been focusing on these, like, big-name figures. But what about the role of, like, the media in all this? And the internet?
Oh, they're definitely a huge part of it. It's a weird thing, though, right? Because the
Mm.
internet can be amazing for, like, giving a voice to people who've been silenced.
Right, right. And exposing injustice, spreading awareness.
Exactly. But at the same time, it can be a breeding ground for, like, misinformation and radicalization.
So it's like a double-edged sword.
Totally. Like, algorithms and echo chambers can trap people in these bubbles where they only see stuff that confirms what they already believe.
So even if you're not, like, actively looking for extremist stuff, you could still end up exposed to it just by how these platforms work.
Yeah, it's kind of scary. And the more you see something, even if it's messed up, the more it starts to feel normal.
Like you become desensitized to it.
Exactly. And that's how these really harmful ideas can sneak in.
And it's not just exposure, right? It's also about whose voices get amplified.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Like, think about that Iker Jimenez guy. doing the Nazi salute on YouTube, he's got a massive audience.
And for some people, seeing someone they like do that, it can be really influential.
Totally. It makes it seem less serious, less taboo, and then it's easier for others to be like, oh, well, if he can do it.
It's that slippery slope thing.
Yep. We got to be so careful about how media and tech can, like, shape how we see the world.
Develop that critical thinking. Okay, so we've talked about individuals, the media, technology, but what about, like, the bigger systems? You mentioned a changing world order earlier.
Yeah, and this is where things get really, I don't know, heavy. Because after World War II, right, we set up these institutions to try and prevent this kind of stuff from happening again.
Like the UN, the EU.
Exactly. They were meant to promote cooperation, protect human rights, prevent conflict, and they worked to a degree for a long time.
Wait, you're saying they're weakening.
I mean, look around. We're seeing this surge in nationalism, populism, a rejection of globalism.
And that leads to countries being less willing to work together, to follow international rules.
Yeah, basically. And then you also have the rise of authoritarianism, like leaders who want all the power.
So it's like the very systems meant to safeguard us are kind of failing.
It's a scary thought. And that creates this opening for extremist ideas to take hold. So it's not just about some people doing a stupid salute. It's about this whole context.
Shifting global power, intolerance, weakening institutions. Wow. Okay, so what can we even do about it? If the systems are breaking down, where do we go from here?
Right. It feels overwhelming. But we can't just give up. I think it starts with education, like really understanding the history of fascism, how hate spreads.
So knowledge is power.
In a way, yeah. But it's not just about reading books. It's about having honest conversations with people who see things differently.
Challenging our own biases.
Exactly. Listening to understand, not just to respond, being willing to change our minds.
So it's not just about, like, knowing facts and figures. It's about how we use that knowledge to connect with people.
Exactly. It's about fostering critical thinking, questioning everything, being open to new information and different perspectives.
But how do you do that with people who are, like, already deep into these extremist views? I mean, how do you even start a conversation?
It's tough, no doubt. But I think one way is to focus on what we have in common.
Shared values, even if we disagree on, like, the specifics.
Right. Like, most people, no matter their political views, can agree on things like compassion, fairness, basic human decency.
So appeal to our shared humanity.
Yeah. Remind people that we're all in this together. That division doesn't help anyone.
That makes me think about the power of stories. How they can connect us, help us see things from different angles.
Oh, totally. Stories can break down those barriers, make complex issues more relatable.
And help us empathize with people who are different from us.
Exactly. And I think we also need to make sure we're amplifying the voices of those who are often ignored. Marginalized communities, people who've experienced hate firsthand.
So give them a platform, share their stories.
Right. Challenge the narratives that are often used to justify these harmful ideologies.
So it's like a multi-pronged approach.
Yeah.
Education, dialogue, storytelling, amplifying marginalized voices. It's a lot, but it feels important.
It is a lot. But remember, there are tons of people fighting for this, for a better world. We're not alone in this.
At the beginning of this deep dive, I was feeling kind of hopeless, to be honest. But now, I don't know, I feel a little more hopeful. Like, we can actually make a difference.
That's what I like to hear. It's easy to get overwhelmed by all the bad stuff, but we have the power to change things.
It starts with each of us, our choices, our conversations, our actions.
Exactly. So let's keep learning, keep talking, keep fighting for what's right. Let's make sure those symbols of hate stay in the past where they belong, and let's focus on building a future filled with hope and love and understanding.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Well, that's all the time we have for today's deep dive. Thanks for joining us.
Hola, si está escuchando esto, suscríbete que lo tienes por aquí de abajo, es completamente gratuito. Y por supuesto, regálame tu like para que este video llegue a muchas más personas.